You guys should know by now how much I love riv nuts, and last week, if you watched the episode, I ran out, which is a big no-no because we're here to get work done, not to dawdle around and run out of parts. So, let me talk about the tools that I usually use to install a nutsert, and I'll show you what I bought while I was hunting around for some new nutserts. So, this guy is a Harbor Freight rivet gun and nutsert tool. And it has served me really well over the last probably 3.5 years. The only problem I have with it is that it takes a lot of effort to squeeze down a nutsert with these tools. You know, it works great for a rivet where you're not putting a whole lot of force on things, but for a nutsert where you're trying to squeeze down, you know, that you're trying to fold that steel over, it's a little tough on the hands, and frankly, I was getting a little bit tired of it. So I found this, which is absolutely genius. This tool came with 6 different anvils, and it goes from 1024, which are these teensy tiny little guys here, all the way up to 5/16. I don't know what I would ever have a use for those guys in, but they are gigantic. So I might find a use for them. But this tool, honestly, is about 50% of the effort to use as the rivet gun style tool. So I'm really happy about that. It's pretty nice, and it's going to make my life a whole lot easier. Now let's move on to today's actual project. You guessed it, intake plumbing. If you haven't seen last week's episode, I will link it on a card right up here. I finished up the intercooler, which means that this week's episode is going to be plumbing all of the intake system, which is going to be really exciting if you're into that kind of thing. Here is what we've got so far. So I've just got some stuff just sitting in there, kind of mocked up the way I want it. Obviously this is going to get cut short. That's going to get cut short. And I've got some tube just kind of hanging out up there out of the intercooler. So we got to figure out how to connect all of that stuff together. So my immediate plan is to do something kind of like this, where we come out of the turbo 90, we come out of the intake 90, and we 45 it up and into the intercooler. Since the intercooler is so much wider than the motor itself, we're going to have to kind of route everything wider than it needs to be. But I think that's going to work out pretty well. Obviously all of this stuff will be shortened up and it won't be so terribly wide, but I think it's going to work. So let's get cutting. So my preferred method for marking out pieces of tubing is to mark it out in 4 places. So I've got one on the top, one on the bottom, and a mark on either of the sides. And then I'll take a piece of tape, I think that's about 2-inch, maybe 2.5-inch masking tape. And as long as you get that started nice and square, it'll track nice and square all the way around the tube and pick up your marks. And it's an easy, disposable way to mark out a piece of tube accurately. And there we go. She's all marked out. Alright, that's looking a lot better. So what I'm going to do next is shorten up this 90 right here that comes out of the intercooler. I'm going to bring it as tight as I can that direction towards the intercooler, and then we'll shorten this whole section of tube up here. Get everything to come in nice and tight, and then we'll connect everything up. Well, I apologize for the choppiness of this video, but the camera battery died, so I've been continuing on while it was dead and on the charger, so let's check out what I've got done so far. So, the whole turbo side is just about finished up. I've got everything just sitting there. The top piece is tacked together, but everything else is just sitting in place. It is 100% ready to weld. Get a shot from this side. So we come 90 out of the turbo, come up 45, and then double 90 up into the intercooler. I think it looks pretty slick. It looks really good from the outside of the bus. I'm hoping to be able to mirror the other side as well. Yeah, I like it. Making progress and having a darn good time doing it. Got side one all completed. See, welded all the way up. Goes up into the intercooler. That's all finished. And I've got side two nearly complete. So that one comes up from the intake there. There's a little section I added in. Those are both just sitting in there. Then I've got the upper side welded in that goes out of the intercooler. And it's looking really good. I'm happy with how well mirrored it is from side to side. Obviously, that side is a little bit higher up than the outlet of the turbo, so it just shoved that 45 up into the bus. But it looks good. I will pick you guys back up once it's all finished. Check it out. That is complete. Intake all the way up into there. Definitely got a handle on that aluminum. A lot more so than I did when I was doing the cooling system. There is the other side from a different perspective. Up inside of there like so. Man, I am just stoked about how that turned out. Goodness gracious. Well folks, that's about all I have for you today. I'll pick you guys back up in the morning and we'll get this intercooler finished. In yesterday's portion of the episode, you guys saw me complete the intake plumbing, which means that today we get to yard it all back out of there so I can finish cutting the hole above the intercooler. Cue the montage. It might be a little bit faint on the camera, but there is a silver scribe line that goes all the way around the inside of that row of nutserts. That's where we're going to be cutting this thing out. So all of the critical holes in this engine are taped up as of right now, but just for the sake of not getting aluminum dust absolutely everywhere, I'm going to cover it with a canvas drop cloth. Well, I'm all set up and ready to go, and since I'm going to be cutting up above my head, it means I'm going to be dressed in full summertime fabrication regalia, which looks a little something like this. Sexy, I know, right? Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's get started. Not having any fun doing this. It's really easy to control the grinder when it's right in front of you on a bench, but boy, when it's above your head, it's a little tricky. There we go. All the room in the world right there. Well, there's one half of me that doesn't care how crappy that cut looks. And there's another part of me that is absolutely screaming inside, telling me to fix it. So I'm gonna fix it. So I've just about finished up with that hole. I think it's as good as I care to get it. It's just an air inlet, so it doesn't need to be absolutely perfect. I'm going to go ahead and install the last of the nutserts, and we'll call this project just about finished. Oh man, this tool is the best. So much easier than the old style. So the final order of business is going to be to install the hardware into this fan shroud. You can see right now, temporarily, I have everything held together with little clecos. It's time to take everything back apart, install all the nutserts, and we'll be completely finished with this project. So as you can see on the intercooler, I have 4 tabs with 2 holes in each tab that hold the fan shroud on. I'm going to go ahead and bring all of those up to 3/8 of an inch so we can install the nutserts. Grab one out of the package for reference so we don't go too large. Pretty sure I've got the drill marked in the right spot. One more. That's the one. The great thing about these step bits is that if you drill through one side, you can come back on the other side and deburr the hole with the step bit. So first out of the gate, I'm going to use the traditional rivet style nutsert tool. I've got the nutsert in there just a little bit farther than the end of the anvil. So to squeeze that in there, it takes quite a bit of effort. Definitely 2 hands and every bit of strength that you have. The only gripe I have about this tool is that the anvil screws in with a left-hand thread. So if you try to adjust the tension at which you're squeezing the nutsert down, you can't because it'll start to unscrew the anvil. That's one complaint I have about that. Not a major one. This tool, on the other hand, is in with a right-handed thread and a jam nut, so you can turn the adjuster on the back and you can adjust while you're squeezing the nutsert down and get more grip. So this one, I'll bottom all the way out on there, just like that. And just like that, it takes almost no effort to put those in. This is a really good tool.